What's going on, everyone? David Jones here at Tenacious D Jones on Twitter. Here with Adam. I haven't done an Adam with Fife Dog, a show with Fife Dog the whole year. We did the podcast a couple of days ago for NFL. But say what's up, man? How you been?
Yeah, what's up, man? It was a fun pod the other night. I got the Cam jersey on in celebration of Cam being back, which I'm pumped about. And yeah, we got a 6 game slate and got some news beforehand, so that's always good.
Yeah, I mean, usually we go like game by game with this, but we will jump into the news. It's the Toronto news, I think, that you're referring to. But first off, check out the content. My article's up over at FTN Daily. Make sure you go check that out. See my favorite plays. We're going to talk about them here. But I got some guys that I'm locked in on, like 100% locked in on, and then running the FTN Opto. If you're not using the Opto, you should check out the Opto. Kyle Murray's been crushing it with the Opto with the projections, the ownership stuff. Him and Alex are doing a great job. So make sure you get over there to the FTN Opto. And you can use promo code FTNTV, 15% off every month right now. And I know also we have a promo going on using promo code MAGIC to get 33% off the NFL daily package, I think, if you do it by kickoff tomorrow. So check out the FTN Daily Twitter. You'll see all the promos. But if you want to get into that Opto, use promo code FTNTV. All right, cool. So let's just jump into the news. The Toronto game, that's the news trickling in. No Fred VanVleet. No Precious Achua. We've got Goran Dragic making his first start this season. He's been out for a while. Let's just get into it, man. Dragic is super cheap on FanDuel. He's 3,500. I imagine on DraftKings he's min price. I'll pull it up, double check it. Goran
It's
Dragic,
34.
34 min price. What are we doing with him? We playing him? I mean, he's in the starting unit. You got to have some interest here.
Yeah, like he hasn't been in the rotation since I think the 25th of October. So the fact that he's starting is obviously a lot more comforting. They could have went with Malachi Flynn, but yeah, I think and again, like you mentioned his price, like he doesn't have to play a huge like he doesn't have to play like starters type minutes. He can play 25 at that price because he's always been a pretty good fantasy contributor. So yeah, I think he obviously deserves a look. Plus, like Siakam's still going to be on a minutes limit. It'll probably be 30 max. He played 30 last game or 29 last game. So like that between that and the fact that like Fred VanVleet's obviously out, this guy's playing 38 and a half minutes a game. Like there's so many minutes up for grabs. So yeah, Dragic at 3,400, finally back or starting. So you have to look his way. Then obviously everybody gets a bump, right? Scotty Barnes, OG, they all get bumps, and like Siakam, like could it's a lot scarier with Siakam because he can only play 30 minutes, but like his usage rate should be pretty massive. So Toronto obviously now becomes probably the most interesting team of the slate.
Yeah, and one name you didn't bring up was Gary Trent too. Gary
hmm
Trent, 6,500 over on FanDuel. I mean, he's getting 30 plus tonight, I think, going up against Detroit. Hopefully, it can stay a close game. Detroit put up like 70 points or something terrible last night. As indicated by Vegas, that game hit the under, and it was a 200-point over under, and that was by like 30 points. Like, it was ridiculous. They're so terrible. Hopefully, Isaiah Stewart can keep it under 2 fouls into the
Yeah.
first minute of the game. But I mean, look, I'm running the FTN Opto. I use one Toronto guy in every lineup. I think you just have to do it. There's too much value, too much usage now. Precious, not that huge of a deal. But what you said about Siakam still being on a minutes limit, probably accurate. What about so we've got a lot of value at point guard and shooting guard today, and we also have some good spin ups. You brought up Malachi Flynn. Would you play him over Goran Dragic? I'm not positive on that.
I mean, it's Toronto, so like we tend to see Toronto just play their starters huge minutes. Like
Yeah.
like you mentioned, like OG plays massive minutes. Gary Trent has been like 36, 37 minutes, in pretty much all of his games as of late. We know Fred VanVleet was playing massive minutes, so that does tend me to think that since Dragic is starting, like, and like there's still like he could be, he doesn't have a future with this team, obviously, because he wasn't in the rotation for so long. So, like, they're okay playing him probably 35 minutes in this game if they feel like it needs to be done. So, I think, like, I wouldn't be shocked if, Malachi Flynn got to like 20, 22 minutes, maybe
Yeah.
more. But obviously, like the fact that Dragic is starting, you just feel a lot better about because they could have easily they've been comfortable playing Malachi Flynn in a starting role. They did it last year a lot, so they could have easily started him.
Yeah, I was a little surprised about that, but I guess the Dragons ready to go. I think my favorite player is going to be, OG too. OG probably scores the most points. I think OG probably scores the most points. He's been phenomenal this year. He's getting the bump with no Van Fleet. Obviously, I'll pull up the FTN splits tool, pull up exactly what that does for him. But OG and Gary Trent are going to be my two favorites there. And then talk about Chris Boucher a little bit. Like, we're getting some questions about Chris Boucher. Like, he finally got minutes, I think, like 22, 24 or something the other day.
Yeah, he played 24, but that was with Birch and Siakam out. Precious is out, but Birch and Siakam are in. Like, if he gets 20 plus minutes, he's gonna score like 30 fantasy points. But like that, he's played over 18 minutes once over his last 10. Like, it's tough.
Yeah, that's a good point about Birch being back in there for sure. Let's see. Not seeing the split. Something's going on with my internet, but OG, he definitely gets a bump with no Van Fleet. Everyone gets a bump with no Van Fleet there. So give me Trent, give me OG. Those are my favorite two. And then Dragic for the price. How do you pass up like such a cheap point guard going up against Detroit? Hope it stays close. I think it probably does. Might as well talk about the other side of that game now. Isaiah Stewart going to get the start again. Been starting anyways. Got in foul trouble last night. Only played, I think, 24 minutes, 24 minutes, something like that. He should get more than that tonight. Last night, I was projecting him to get 26 minutes, and the game got out of hand, and it looked like I probably was, a little bit under there. Like, if the game was closer, he probably would have got some more minutes, but he did come in kind of late, too. I think he can get 26, 28 minutes here going up against Toronto. Not like the best matchup on the board or anything, but he's super cheap. So are you going to take a shot on Isaiah Stewart after he burned everyone last night?
He's fine. He still has a 31% rebounding rate with Olynyk off the floor. They really just like the reason I liked him so much, obviously, other than the fact that he was obviously a value and Olynyk was out, but like, they had to have Luka Garza come in and play minutes, but like he steps on the floor and gets dunked on by Jared Allen. Like they just don't have center options really that are viable after Stewart. So barring some sort of crazy foul trouble. And yeah, Siakam's starting at the 5. Like Birch will play in this game. Like it wasn't the reason I liked him a lot last game was because Cleveland had Jared Allen and Mobley. Like they were gonna have size, so they needed Stewart. Maybe not as much in this game with Siakam playing a lot of small ball 5, but still, just where else do they go in their front court? I still think if he plays 26, 27 minutes at 44, we've seen this guy like. Talked about him a lot in the before the season started with Joe Metz and Zach Graham about him being like a potential breakout fantasy player. Like it was all there because of what he did last year when he was on the floor. So
yeah, I don't hate it for the price. I think he has a better outing than he did last night. He hasn't been playing as well, like just overall this season, not just last night. Like just something I've noticed, like hasn't looked as good as he did last year, but it's still early in the season. He'll round into form. I think he's overall a good enough player to stick around for a while for sure. Grant, Bay, Cade Cunningham, everyone's favorite player to roster, busts half the time. Killian Hayes. I can't get on many of these guys. There's two other positions or players on other teams. I'd rather go with the positions. I never roster Bay. He just relies too much on the shot. Hope he doesn't beat me tonight. It happens sometimes. I never play him, so not going to play him tonight. Cade Cunningham, price is coming up. He's going to shoot the ball. You need the shots to go in. I'm not high on Hayes, Cunningham, Bay, or Grant, but maybe you differ there. You got any of them?
No, not really. Not really excited about Detroit, other than getting to some Isaiah Stewart again.
Yeah, I feel you, man. If you were doing like MME stuff, how much Goran Dragic do you think is too much? Like, I don't know if you really do like projections or look into minutes or anything like that. Can we expect this guy to get 20 fantasy points tonight? Can he possibly get 30? I'd peg him in around 24 to 26.
Yeah, it's been a small sample because Dragic obviously hasn't played in a while, plus Van Vliet's always on the floor, but he's over a fantasy point per minute, I believe, with Van Vliet off the floor. So unless he just, starts and plays the first stint and then they just say, oh, okay, we're not playing you, like,
yep.
As long as he plays like 18 to 24 minutes, like I'd be shocked if he didn't get around 20 fantasy points.
Yeah, me too. Would you rather play him or Raul Neto? I'd rather play Neto.
Yeah, I think Neto has a higher ceiling for minutes, I would say. And for what it's worth, maybe the difference will matter, but he is, I think, $200 cheaper. So
Yeah, I'm going to limit Dragic to like 35%, I think, and the rest are probably going to be Neto. But all right, let's start at the top here. If you see any news drop, let me know. We'll get to it. But Philly at Indiana. Of course, Joel Embiid is still not playing. You've got Andre Drummond, 8,900, getting every rebound on the court. Tobias Harris is back. Tyrese Maxey's looking like a superstar all of a sudden, dropping 40 and 3 straight games. The guard's kind of like who's going to hit? Is it going to be Curry? Is it going to be Korkmaz? We don't really know. And then I don't know if I mentioned Tobias Harris, but where are you going in this game? Are you making Drummond a priority? Getting a lot of questions about Drummond today as a spin-up center. I personally like Jonas Valanciunas better than Drummond,
same.
but it's hard to argue against how many boards this guy's going to get. So talk about the 76ers a little bit for me.
Yeah, I mean, Drummond about as much of a lock to get 13 to 15 boards at least in the league right now, obviously.
Yeah.
Like he's fine, but I agree. Like you hit the nail on the head. I do prefer Joval if you're going up in that 9K range. Tobias Harris, that was his first game back in the lineup last game, and his usage rate was around just under 28%. So, it wasn't an injury, obviously. It was, he had COVID and he came back and wasn't limited. He played 37 minutes, took, 18 shots, had to facilitate a little bit more. So I think Tobias at 8,900, I think he's really safe. Drummond's obviously really safe, but I do prefer the other center options in this slate a little bit more. I mean, Drummond's obviously, he's going to be fine. Maxey, I struggle with at 7-2 because he's a talented player and he's shooting a ton at 24, 19 shots the last two games, but I'm not expecting him to be scoring 30 points for 3 straight games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really ever have a problem with Seth Curry, especially where he's priced. He's elevated a little bit still from the Sixers just being so depleted, but I'm fine with Curry. It's really Curry and Tobias for me that stand out the most. Again, Drummond's perfectly in play. I just, like you, prefer Joval.
Yeah, I mean, on DraftKings, you could play them both, and it might be viable. I didn't build on DraftKings tonight. I did all my stuff on FanDuel tonight. But with all the value we have with like Dragic, and then you got these Washington guys we're about to get to, it's probably viable, and that's a pretty good way to go if you can get both of the big guys on your team. Harris, I would think, is the safest aside from Drummond. Probably even better for the price, honestly. And then Tyrese Maxey's fine. Like I'm not worried about Shake Milton getting in there and taking anything from him. Curry can get hot. Hasn't got hot in a while. Can get hot if you want to take a stab on him in GPPs. He plays big minutes. You can. You just need that 3 to fall. Not getting it to any green, but for me, it'd be Drummond, Harris, and then some Maxey. That's about it. On the other side, you've got Karis LeVert announced to have a minutes limit. Brogdon's going to start, Duarte, Sabonis, who I think is underpriced today, and then Miles Turner going up against Andre Drummond. I'm not going to play any Miles Turner. He's too hit or miss for me. I don't particularly love the matchup and how many boards Drummond's going to suck up. Sabonis, though, on the other hand, hasn't been playing great, and he gets worse, a little bit worse when like Brogdon and LeVert are back. His assists go down, but him getting 40, 45 is pretty doable tonight against these 76ers. So where do you land on these Pacers guys?
Yeah, Turner's been a guy that I haven't looked at a ton over the last couple years because Sabonis, like he's for a while he's been in that like 6.5 rebound per game range, which isn't great for a center, but his rebounds have been up this year. He's at 8.5, which is maybe coinciding with some of Sabonis's down games. I know mostly that's been, like you said, the assists aren't in the 6 or 7 range with Brogdon and now LeVert back. And I talk about this with LeVert a lot. Like he's a guy when he's on the floor, it's a lot of ISO, so it's hard to get assists to him. It looks like he's going to play, unlikely to play minutes in the deep 30s, so he could probably play like 30 to 32, which is still plenty.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little bit more interested in Turner than you, just because it's just so helpful facing Drummond, who's always around the basket. So like Turner won't be having to chase any centers off the 3-point line, and he'll be able to stay around the basket and get rebounds in this spot. So I actually like Turner a little bit more. But yeah, usually like I'm just always fine with Sabonis, but I'm not as crazy about him here. And then like Brogdon and Sabonis over the last year and change, they've been both like among the top 7 or 8 players in touches per game. Like they get a ton of volume, so like they're rarely gonna just let you down. But I also don't know if they're like necessarily priorities on the slate either.
Yeah, so I'm like looking at. I like to look at how many points allowed so far in the season, game averages to the position, and I mean you can throw this out because it's not relevant with Andre Drummond starting over Joel Embiid with Joel Embiid out, not starting over, but starting tonight. They had allowed the least amount of points to the center, but all that has to do with Joel Embiid, so you can kind of throw it out. Levert, any interest there? Going to have a minutes limit. I didn't see a minutes time, but the minutes limit thing can kind of scare you. Maybe I should check into that a little bit more. You're going to go
I
with
think
him?
it says he's not. He says he's unlikely to play minutes in the deep 30s. So
okay. So at 30, 34, 34.
yeah, like I think he'd be maxed at like 34 or so. Which I mean, under 7K, his shot volume's crazy, but like he shoots like 18, 19, 18, 21, 22 field goals the last 4 games.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be enough to get you there against the 76ers. And I feel like we've seen this movie before where like he's got a minutes limit, but he still goes out there and plays like 34 to 36 minutes. Yeah, the minutes limit's not going into the deep 30s. That's everyone's minutes limit pretty much. But we'll have to wait and see. The next game I like a lot more. Let's get into that. We can answer some questions in Discord after we break this down or along the way. We've got Washington going to be without Bradley Beal. Everyone gets a enormous boost up. I was pulling some of the numbers. Dinwiddie's going to start. Last time that Beal was out, he had put up 26.20 points over his average because all that usage is gone. Raul Neto put up 14.23 over his average. Kuzma put up like 14.03, something like that from memory, over his average. Better than the bigs. The ball handlers get the boost. I locked Dinwiddie into every lineup I made tonight. Hopefully it pays off. I think it does. If he doesn't get injured, I think he pays off. I've got a ton of Neto, and I locked in Kuzma. I locked in Kuzma. I locked in Dinwiddie. I'm playing them in every lineup going up against the Orlando Magic. So who's your favorite guys for Washington tonight?
Yeah, it's got to be Dinwiddie. I mean, 6,500 on DraftKings. His usage rate jumps by 7% when Beal's off the floor, putting him at over 31%. And then he's also got a 19% rebounding rate and a 25% assist rate. So, yeah, he's just like an absolute lock for me. Yep. You mentioned Neto, like 3,200. And like this time last year when like, Westbrook was out or Beal was out, it was, you feel better about Raul Neto, but they'd also have Ish Smith there. So they don't have Ish Smith anymore. And you just, Neto is going to play plenty of minutes. His usage rate jumps by about 2.5%. He's not going to be like a massive usage rate player, but he's over 20. He's at 20%, well over a fantasy point per minute. And yeah, I like Kuzma too. I wrote about him in the DFS preview this morning. First of all, he's been a lot better in Washington, right? More usage. His rebounds have been great. He's averaging 15 points and over 9 boards per game. And he's currently 5th in the league in spot up points per game at 6.2. And Orlando, they're a defense we can definitely attack, but they're also giving up the 2nd most spot up points per game, 4th most points per possession, and the 6th highest field goal percentage to spot up shooters. So I like Kuzma a ton. I obviously like Dinwiddie, Neto. There's a lot of ways you can go with Washington. And then, Montrezl Harrell's been pretty efficient per usual.
Crazy, yeah.
So like I would put him 4th of those 4, but still like perfectly in play.
Look at Washington just like revitalizing everyone's career. Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma. I like the new Kuzma. I like the Washington Kuzma. He's been playing good. Man, he's not dressing like a complete lunatic showing up to Staples Center every day. So I'm into that too. KCP, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, another former Laker. He's cheap. His shot's got to drop. Sometimes the shot drops. Washington has a good record. Washington's been playing well.
I know they're like 8-3, 8-2 or something.
It's crazy. Aren't they like above the Bulls right now?
I think they are 1st or 2nd in the East. Last time I looked.
Last time I looked, it was 1st, but like I wasn't sure if that I don't know. I didn't want to play myself by repeating that because I don't know if it held up. That was a few days ago. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. KCP, you gonna sprinkle him in some?
Like he really doesn't get a bump, but I will say Dinwiddie has always been like back with you when he was with Brooklyn. Like he's always been a relatively pass first point guard. So like he will get KCP some looks in this game with him running the offense more. So like I don't hate it, but he doesn't get like a massive bump or anything really. It's just the minutes are kind of solidified even more so with Beal out.
I hate rostering like 3-point shooters and guys that just rely on the shot, and that's what KCP is. He relies on a shot more than anything else. And
Yeah, you need to hit threes and walk into like 4 or 5 steals. Maybe not 5, but
I hate doing it, but it's not to say it doesn't work sometimes. I mean, sometimes he gets hot. So no Beal. He's gonna have plenty of opportunities tonight. On the other side, Cole, Suggs, Wagner, Vamba, Carter, your starting 5 for the Orlando Magic. I guess a good question is going to be, do you think this game stays close? I tend to think it does.
Yeah, I mean Orlando's bad, but without Beal, they're at home, they're relatively healthy. Yeah, Cole Anthony's been interesting because like he's literally like last year and this year he's like among the league leaders in like average seconds per touch. Like he handles the ball a ton. So, he's been obviously productive this year. It's just hard to prioritize him at 7'7" when Dinwiddie's 6'5" and there's other point guards on the slate. Like it's tough. Like Garland we'll talk about. So it's tough for me. Mo Bamba's obviously been pretty productive this season. Like I feel like him and Wendell Carter Jr. are both kind of like one, like they're it's rare for them both to go off, so you kind of have to choose right between the two. I don't know, like
Carter's super cheap on FanDuel. Like I'll just throw that out there too. He's like the second cheapest guy I have in my player pool on FTN Optimizer over there, with Isaiah Stewart being the next, because I kind of got off Chris Boucher a little bit when Kim Birch was ruled in. I mean, we've got him projected for just over $36,000. I mean, if I'm playing 2 or 3 Washington guys, which I am, I probably want an Orlando guy, and he's the cheapest one out there, and he can drop 30 relatively easy on Washington here. So he'd probably be my favorite. But like you were talking about Cole too, Cole is another guy. The shot needs to drop, but has been dropping more this year, and he's been doing more this year. He's been better. He's getting good enough minutes. Like I don't hate him either. So I'd go probably Carter than Cole. I'm not rostering Suggs. Hasn't shown me enough. Wagner, he's a good enough role player over there, but he doesn't put a big DFS point, so can't play him. And then if you just want to throw Bamba in some lineups, that's fine, but it's not like a main lineup guy for me. So Carter and Cole, and probably keep moving, man. Unless you want to do some like Terrence Ross off the bench or some RJ Hampton.
Nah.
Yeah, me neither. No one does. Hey, they'll be low owned. If you're into low ownership, don't do that. Don't do that. Did I cut you off? Is there anything else you want to talk about the match?
No, I like the Wendell Carter Jr. call on FanDuel. I agree. Like you're going to have exposure to Washington, so and maybe they don't have to because nobody's crazy expensive, but like if a lot of these Washington players hit their ceiling, like probably gonna have to be a relatively close game for long enough. So.
All right, I'm rallying the troops in the NBA Discord over on FTN Daily. Say we're going to answer some questions on the show. While they drop those in, looks like Javi's in there taking care of some of them. That's good. Let's move on to the next game. Memphis at New Orleans. We've got Brandon Ingram back finally. He's also on a minutes limit. Did you see what the limit's going to be for him?
I did not.
So, like, he's another one of those guys. Like, the minutes limit could mean 32 to 34.
It's tough, too, because, like, the Pelicans, like, Ingram's their second best player, however you view him right now. I mean, Joe Val's playing great. But, like, if they're in a competitive game and he's just getting bucket after bucket, they're not going to – I don't see them taking him out. Like, we see that situation a lot when players are going into a game on a minutes limit and then they're just playing out of their minds. And then all of a sudden you look at the box score and they played 34 minutes.
Yep, I'm with you. Favorite play, aside from the Washington guys on the slate for me, I don't care if Brandon Ingram's in or not. He's not going to like take away from the center. Jonas Valanciunas. It's on the second night of a back-to-back. So you always wonder about that with J-Val, but he only played 29 minutes last night. And he's going against his former team, the Memphis Grizzlies, tonight. If that means anything to anyone, it does for me. Narrative guy over here. But the last time they had a back-to-back, he played 35 minutes the first game, then 29 the second game, and then last night he played 29, so I think he can get close to 34, 35 tonight in a great matchup going up against Memphis. They're just behind the Oklahoma City Thunder for the most fantasy points allowed at the position, and Jonas Valanciunas is the second highest scoring center this year so far behind Nikola Jokic. So give me all the J-Val, 100% lock. He's going to be on the winning team. I know you're going to have to fade some centers that are in good spots and good values, and kind of maybe it's actually not stacked. But Jonas Valanciunas, play of the night, love him.
Yeah, I love him too. He leads the NBA in putback points per game at just over 3. Minnesota is allowing no, I had it right. Memphis. Yeah, Memphis is bottom 5 in putback points allowed. Like this is a great spot for Joe Val. And yeah, like the price may seem high, especially with Ingram back, but like he's just been like I talk about it all the time, but when Joe Val is playing 35 minutes, he's literally one of the best players in fantasy. So it's like we need to stop being surprised at his price because he's not in Toronto anymore playing 25 minutes. He's playing 30 to 35 most nights, and he's been awesome. So
I hate that, man. Like, I hate the minutes limit, like, bullshit with these people. He's like a great fantasy producer. He's a great player, always has been, was great in Memphis. And they just, I don't know. I guess it's because he's a big fella. They cut his minutes. Should never have done that. Should have played him. Could have won more games. We've got the Memphis starters out: Ja Morant, Bane, Brooks starting, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Adams. Don't have a ton of interest over here. Brooks getting reintroduced into the lineup kind of limits everyone's minutes a bit, aside from like Morant and Jackson and Adams. It's like
it hurts the starters though with him starting because he was such a high usage player last year, and look at his first game, he comes in and takes 17 shots. Like Dylan Brooks is a massive usage player that not enough people talk about. So I'm not saying you can't play Ja Morant, but like at 10-2. I don't know. I know he's been over 50 in 3 straight games.
Great call out. So I wrote up Ja Morant, and like as soon as I did, I put a little thing at the end. It's like, I like Ja Morant to get a lot of points tonight, but there's also some opportunity cost with fading some of these good value guards and mid-tier guards. Like they're really, a lot of them are in good spots today, namely the Washington guys. But look, the Pelicans really, really bad at defending guards. That's why I played James Harden last night. He dropped like 62. Finally got back in some old Harden form. You said it with Morant, dropped 50 in 3 straight games. And that's kind of a dangerous way to like play fantasy. Like not calling you out, but like I do it sometimes. People do it. Anthony Edwards chasing him a little bit last night. Like shit happens. 50 in 3 straight games, but you can't ignore the matchup in New Orleans to me. I think he can go out and do it again. But there's a lot of opportunity costs. Like I don't think he goes and drops like 65 or anything like that. I don't think you could in this matchup. Harden almost did it. But Ja Morant, solid play as far as like way exceeding value. I don't think so anymore.
Yeah. And then like the rest of this team, like Jaren Jackson Jr. is always priced in that low to mid 6K range. And there's obvious upside with him there, but it's like so many times he has like a good scoring night, but his rebounds are underwhelming. And obviously there's always a foul trouble concern. So like he's like the ultimate GPP play every slate almost, but like especially at that price, like he could go for 40 at that price. And like he's like, a perfect play when you have 6,200 left. It's just I haven't really gotten him right this year. Like one game I played him, he was like the last couple times I played him, he was a 2 and 1 rebound shy of a double, so that hurt. And then obviously there's times where you play him and he gets into foul trouble. So I still don't hate him, but like he's another player. Like Memphis all of a sudden has 3 really high usage players in their starting 5 between Jaren Jackson Jr. and Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks got super hot in the second half of last year, if I remember correctly. But I still need to see more from him this season. Got some breaking news. We'll see if it affects anything you're thinking here for the Celtics. Josh Richardson ruled out. Was coming off the bench anyways. It doesn't do a ton for me. Maybe bumps up like, I don't know who, Peyton Pritchard or someone like that. They did play in an overtime game last night. You had the starters playing big minutes, Time Lord playing big minutes, which isn't something like they typically love to do with Time Lord. So does Richardson being ruled out like do anything for you at all?
Probably just, if anything, just solidifies minutes for guys like Schroeder, Marcus Smart. But yeah, in terms of like just finding a pure value play from Boston after that news, no, not really.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into Boston then. Anything else you wanted to add to that game before I
maybe you could go to Romeo Langford at 3K because we know Jaylen Brown's already out, and he's been playing like upwards of 20 minutes. I guess one of those games was a blowout. Then he played 27 in an actual blowout. I don't know. You probably don't have to go there, though. We talked about Neto and Dragic.
Javi's in the Discord answering a lot of questions. Appreciate it, Javi. Makes it easier for us. Looks like they're getting a lot of answers in there, so thank you. They're talking about if Horford's going to play or not. It looks like the news for the Celtics is dropping like as we speak, so I don't think we have that yet. If we don't have anything yet, he's probably playing. I don't know how many minutes they're going to give him, but I don't know. He's on like
Horford officially game time decision just launched.
Just launched. Okay, that might mean it's shit. I mean. To me, that means he probably doesn't play.
Yeah, I mean, it's a center, right? Coming off that, overtime game, back end or second end of a back-to-back, and he's got lower back pain. Just sit him.
I mean, so Tatum and Time Lord, right? I mean, Tatum should just eat tonight.
Yeah.
Let's see how much Tatum I have, because it might not be enough. It is not enough. I need to get some more Tatum in there, especially if Horford's going to be out. That's big news. 9,600 over on FanDuel, 400 cheaper than Paul George. If Horford's out, you think Jason Tatum outscores Paul George? I think that's a very real possibility, but it's also
entirely possible. Yeah, it's entirely possible.
What about Dennis Schroeder and Marcus Smart? Schroeder had the game interview last night. Had a great game. Good for him. Made a lot of shots. I think he got 38 real points.
38, yeah.
Good game for him. Not typically a guy that just goes back to back and like dominates, but when a guy's hot, keep passing him the ball. And if Horford's out, that's good. No Richardson, solidifies Smart and Dennis's minutes a little bit, I guess. He's not a guy you really have to rest on back-to-backs. Neither is Marcus Smart. He's still cheap. I think he's $6K. How much Dennis Schroeder's too much? I imagine he's going to be popular. And like last night he had a great game, national TV. Great, good for him. Very good, very good. But I don't know, man. He's been inconsistent before that. It's not like he hits every single night.
Yeah, I mean, his usage rate and stuff obviously climbs. It's over 32% with Jaylen Brown, and I added Horford off the floor, so in case Horford sits. But yeah, I mean, there's three guards. You can even throw in Rubio in this game that are under 6 or under 7K that are all viable, right? Garland, Schroeder, Rubio, and Marcus Smart. I mean, Garland at 6'9", but compared to Schroeder at 6'3". I think Schroeder has a higher ceiling. Like, we haven't seen it from Garland because he shares so much floor time with Sexton because he's more of like the facilitating guard and Sexton's more of the scoring guard. But with Sexton out, like he's now taking 14, 16, and 14 shots. So like maybe we can see Garland go for like 30 real points more often than not. But I'm fine with Schroeder. I'm fine with Smart, especially at 5'2". The minutes are going to be there with him. And we always see him take on more of a, role when one of Brown or Tatum are out. What do you think of Garland though? Because I wrote about him today too. Like, not surprisingly, but he's averaging like 16 or 17 more touches per game since Sexton's been out of the lineup, and he's right around 7 minutes of possession per game. So the ball's obviously in his hands a ton, and he's been pretty productive. I would say it's obviously been him, Mobley, and Jared Allen since Markkanen, Love, and Sexton have been out.
Yeah. I mean, at the price, it's hard to hate on it too much. Like, I like Garland as a player, like for sure. But there's probably other guys for me personally. I would like around that price range.
We'll go back. It's Dinwiddie always, right? It's just like he's right there.
I mean, it's Dinwiddie, but like I have some Garland. So you're like making the decision. It's like, do you want Dinwiddie? Do you want Schroeder? Do you want Garland? Do you want Rubio? Do you want Dragic down there? You've got Reggie Jackson, who comes in probably like 5th for me. Marcus Smart is down there. There's just a lot of Patrick Beverly if you want to, hate yourself at the end of the night, potentially 50-50 shot. So I probably have him behind. I definitely have him behind Dinwiddie. I have him behind Schroeder, I think, even though that one's like super close too.
Yeah, that's why I asked you. It's close for me too.
I mean, Rubio, like, I keep fading him, man, and then he goes out and gets like 5 steals in like 28 minutes or whatever he's doing. Like, he's playing just great. He's always been a steals guy. Like, would you rather play Rubio or Garland?
I would rather play Garland.
Okay.
But, yeah, it just – like, the minutes are obviously a lot safer with Garland.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. He's going to definitely get more minutes. And then Rubio coming off the big steals game, but still at the same time playing great. Didn't he have 30 at halftime last night? I was like, my night is just so – could not be more over. that I didn't roster him, and then he only got like a few more in the second half, but still exceeded value. Dean Wade, no. Mobley, not a bad spot for him. Jarrett Allen, of course, they didn't get the minutes for Jarrett Allen last night. He should get him tonight in a close game because it was such a blowout against Detroit. Price is still reasonable for him. If he can get 35, 36 minutes, he's in a very good spot again. So you like Jarrett Allen? You like Mobley?
Yeah, I love Mobley. Just doing it enough of everything, right? I feel like every time I look up, Mobley goes for like 17 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. Like, price is still fair. And then, like, the wings are just, like, I know that Markkanen was playing small forward for Cleveland, and he's out, and Kevin Love's out, and Sexton's out. But it's like, Chetty's coming off the bench and not playing more than, like, 25 minutes. I preferred Chetty over Okoro just because at least Chetty has some usage, but, like, Okoro's starting. Not a huge ceiling for me. Then you mentioned Dean Wade, really not a ceiling either, although he is playing the minutes at 3,200. If you're, going down for a small forward or power forward, I guess you can go there, but I'm not excited about it. It's mostly the main three we talked about: Garland, Mobley, and Jarrett Allen.
Okay. Cool. I'm checking out what I can do with Tatum here because it feels like Horford's going to be ruled out, making me want to get some Time Lord, even though I'm a little bit worried about it. His price is too good. Or definitely some Tatum. So I'll mess with that when we get off the show. What do we have? One more game to talk about. Timberwolves at the Clippers, highest total on the night. Patrick Beverley, revenge times 3, third time they've already played each other. So far this season, it's back in LA. Patrick Beverley straight gets up for his old teams. Tell me this is on ESPN. Let me look that up.
Saturday, 10:30? Very possible.
Oh, I would love it. I love PBEV ESPN games. I love PBEV revenge games. I just don't love PBEV. On Minnesota, it feels like you have to get some of this. Like, Edwards busted last night. Russell wasn't great. PBEV definitely busted. Karl-Anthony Towns, Vanderbilt's probably starting. Who's your priority on this team?
I do like Russell's price a lot on DraftKings. He's only $7K. Hasn't seen any sort of minutes limit since returning a couple days ago. Oddly has had 7 assists in 3 straight games. The shot volume's been good, 22, 15, and 19. I think Russell is actually my favorite. Obviously, Towns, the Clippers, whether they throw, Zubach in for 16 minutes, it doesn't matter. They're not going to have anybody slow Towns down, so I definitely like him. And yeah, Edwards obviously has a ceiling, but at 8.4, I just think it's a little too expensive given the fact that, obviously Russell's been back and we've seen Edwards have, huge game, but just not really a priority for me on this slate. I just like Russell's price a lot more, obviously.
Yeah, I feel you there. Yeah, I agree with you there. On the other side, the Clippers, Paul George getting a lot of ownership, rightfully so, going up against this is going to be the highest paced game. Who would it be? I think the Timberwolves have the highest pace change, and then the Clippers are third highest pace change, positive pace change. Flip-flop them, doesn't matter. They're both in a great spot. I agree. Go with Paul George here if you can find a way to spend up, but you're making a decision in most cases if you're going to go Paul George or Tatum. Horford news might push me to Tatum more. I mean, I know we just talked about this, but I think it probably would. But Paul George, he can go out and drop 45, 50 too. So, tough call, man. Has your mind changed since we talked about this 15 minutes ago, Paul George or Tatum, or we still need that Horford news?
The Horford news definitely helps. I think still, though, I would lean George. I think the game environment's better for him.
Okay.
It's
cool.
Super close, though.
Bledsoe, Jackson, Kennard, Batum, Zubach. I like Zubach tonight. You got any Zubach love?
Yeah, I guess his minutes have been a lot better recently, huh?
Against the Timberwolves, mainly. So when he played the Timberwolves the last 2 times, he got 31 and 34 minutes. He exceeded value once, didn't exceed value once. I think you got a 50-50 shot here again at a cheap price going up against Karl-Anthony Towns. And the Timberwolves, you can score all over Karl-Anthony Towns, and they want a big body in there on him. I think he gets over 30 minutes tonight. It's just what's he going to do with it? So I think he's a decent punt. It's not someone I'm absolutely locked in on, but he's going to get minutes tonight.
Yeah, actually, I don't hate Zubach at all. The wings, though, it's Batum's price has come up. He's playing really solid minutes, and he's been really productive. Um, I just don't expect it to continue. Terrence Mann's minutes have been a little bit up and down. And then Luke Kennard's in that same range where he's locked into like 25 to 30, but he needs to be hitting his threes most likely. So
Yeah.
I don't think if you got to like Batum or Luke Kennard, it'd be bad, but I don't like think they're guys you just say, okay, these guys are premier, mid-ranged or value plays. So then you look at it and you have obviously Bledsoe and Reggie Jackson. I mean, Bledsoe is significantly cheaper than Reggie Jackson. And I don't know. I don't project them to be all that different in terms of like I think Jackson's minutes are safer, but like I just think if you're playing one, I might just take the savings with Bledsoe.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree there. I mean, they're both kind of hit or miss guys. Batum, we're getting questions about too. He's been dropping 30 on a nightly basis, like kind of rejuvenated too. The second half of the season, he won't be doing that. Like these older guys, maybe they're starting off hot. Horford, Batum, I don't know what's going on. They might be on
He's coming
TV
off a
still.
3-block game and 2 steals. Other than that, he had
Yeah.
6 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. He's not shooting the ball a lot. He's shooting out of his mind from 3. He went 2 for 4, 6 of 8, 4 of 9, 2 of 4, 6 of 8 from 3 his last 5 games. Like that's 4 of 8 the next game. Like he's shooting out of his mind from 3.
Let's see. I'm seeing if we got the Horford news yet. We don't. Even if he plays, it's not going to be big minutes. Do you think Time Lord's minutes are going to be restricted here or no?
I don't think so. That game starts at 8, so probably you have to wait a little bit.
You got some time.
Not too much longer, hopefully, but
All right, cool. Let's go over our favorite plays on the slate and get out of here. We got 10 minutes till the slate locks. Can hop in Discord, answer some questions. For me, it's going to be Spencer Dinwiddie all day, 100% lock him in. Shouldn't fail, could fail. Everyone can fail. Don't think he's going to fail. I got a lot of Spencer Dinwiddie tonight. Raul Neto, I like his cheap price tag for sure. I went over the numbers and the splits without Beal out. He's got averages 14.23 more points with Beal off the court. Dinwiddie absolutely crushed last time Beal was off the court. Kyle Kuzma too. Love Kyle Kuzma. Have a ton of Kyle Kuzma. Locked in Kyle Kuzma. I guess I'm playing 2 or 3 Wizards on every lineup. That's the way it's going to be. That's where the value's at. That's what you do when you're playing DFS. And then lastly, Valanciunas is my favorite player of the night. I think he's the highest scoring player of the night. I love him against his old team. I think he gets 34, 35 minutes. Second highest scoring center in the NBA right now as far as fantasy points go. So Jonas Valanciunas, even with Brandon Ingram in, I'm still going with him.
I don't really have anything to add. Like Kuzma, Dinwiddie, and Jova are like my 3 favorite plays of the slate. So there's that. I'll add. I the more I've talked about it, the more I really do like D'Angelo Russell, given his price and the game environment there at 7K against the Clippers. And I just think like the Toronto guys, like OG, Scotty Barnes, like they're just really, really safe with Siakam on a minutes limit and Van Vliet out and Precious Achua out. So like they're perfectly fine. And yeah, like obviously the Wizards are going to be popular. And yeah, like you said, everybody can fail. I would be pretty shocked if Dinwiddie underwhelmed, given the fact that it's not like a situation where Beal's been out for 2 or 3 games and Dinwiddie's priced up to 8K. Like he's 6,500. Like he doesn't even have to do. Like he's probably going to outperform our expectations. But even if your expectations are relatively low, he'll still be fine.
Getting a question for you. Do you want Maxey or Russell if you have to pick one? D'Angelo.
Yeah, I'm probably leaning Russell, and it's kind of we talked about with Ja. It's like it's scary to go against a guy that's been playing out of his mind, but I'll take Russell.
Wow, this one's tough. Easy B. Zubach, Dragic versus Neto, Batum.
Oof.
Yeah, that one's tough.
I like Neto more than Dragic. I like Zubach more than Batum.
Yeah, that one's tough. I said Al Horford ruled out. Let's go get some time,
Yeah.
Lord. Get some
I was
Jason
gonna say
Tatum.
I would have been shocked if he played with lower back soreness coming off the front end of a back-to-back as a center. I would have been pretty surprised if he played.
All right, that's gonna do it for us. I have to go get a shit ton of Time Lord and Celtics in my lineup with no Horford tonight. So let's go get you some Celtics in. Easy night. I think there's still some slots open in the FanDuel qualifier tonight too. I'm about to cram in 3, so I'll see you over there if you want to get some overlay. Appreciate you joining me tonight, Adam. Check out the FTN optimizer. Plug these plays in that we're talking about, and hopefully you bink some cash and be like Kyle Murray. Everyone wants to be like Kyle Murray. We will see you tomorrow for all the NFL content. Make sure you check that out, FTN Daily too. Use promo code MAGIC to get 33% off before kick. See ya.